That is when you get the skewed Jesus portraits.
You have to wonder why.
I have the skill.
Well, that's not the right way to go about it.
So I want a tattoo, I want it right now.
Tittiesntoos.
Hi everybody, welcome to tittiesntoos. My name is Alicia and I'm with Monica, and today we are going to be looking at why money talks in tattooing. It is something that I know a lot of people are so worried about, and specifically when it comes to asking for tattoo quotes, that is almost the deciding factor.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've noticed, especially people's willingness to compromise on the quality of the tattoo just for the sake of the price. That's not the right way to go about it. A tattoo is obviously a permanent thing, so if it's a bit more than what you expected, rather save up. We've had experiences where clients would try and bargain with us to try and get the price a bit lower, or they would make the size a bit smaller to get the price lower. And in my experience, I just feel like now you're compromising on what you actually want just because of to save a few bucks. Just rather save a bit more, wait a bit longer maybe.
Yeah, but I mean that ties in with like if we look at what we've spoken about the size of the tattoo and all of that you want. Rather wait and get the thing that you want versus, and I think it's because of, especially today, people are so like instant gratification. Need to have things right now. So I want a tattoo, I want it right now. Okay. And yes, I get it. Please don't misunderstand me, because I also, like, if I want a tattoo, I also want it right now. But the reality is if you want something that is worthwhile of what it is that you want, then taking that time to save up for it, to wait for the artist, all of that, it plays a big role.
I've referred some of my clients to other artists just because I feel like their style is better suited for what they want. And then I know this artist is a bit pricey, but then I tell them their work is amazing and that's why it's more expensive, and pay that price. Go to that artist and pay their price. At the end of the day, if you find an artist whose work you love and you love their style, pay their price. Don't negotiate. There's a reason why that tattoo costs that much. Also because it's probably of high quality.
I mean, if you think about it, anybody that is doing whatever it is that they are doing, it is a skill that you've learned. And a skill doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come like, today I wake up and I am this amazing whatever. You have to put the hours in it. And I know, like, the saying always goes that it's 10,000 hours that you need to put in for you to be able to say, I have the skill. Not I've mastered it. I have the skill. 10,000 hours. So when you put a price to that, it is because the person giving you that price has put in that time
and that effort.
To get to that point. It's not just about going and saying, I woke up today, I'm going to be a tattoo artist, and come sit down, we'll rock whatever you have. That is when you get the skewed Jesus portraits that looks a little bit like, caveman style. I don't know, but it really is. That's when you get that, because somebody just thought, hey, I can tattoo, let me do it.
And then you have to, if your tattoos look too or very cheap, you have to wonder why. There's a reason why it's cheap, probably. And I think especially with tattooing, it's such a difficult skill to learn, and the amount of effort that had to go into it for you to just starting to understand what you're doing. That's so much time and stress from the tattoo artist side as well. Every tattoo you do, you're actually practicing your skill. So the longer you've been tattooing, the more you've practiced your skill. And I think that's also where the more senior artists, if they've tattooed for longer, that's where their price is also higher, because they can probably do a better job and faster job than the tattoo artist that hasn't been tattooing for that long. I think for where my struggle with costs come in, for me personally, is that I've heard from other clients that I tattoo quite fast compared to other artists.
It's amazing.
And then I think I struggle because I'll end up doing a good tattoo in not a lot of hours. It'll take me an hour or 2 hours to do a small, realistic tattoo. But then the quoting is difficult because I didn't spend that much time on the tattoo, but I still want to quote what I feel my skill is worth. And then I've seen people like, oh, but I've only been here an hour, you know. And then, but yeah, I think being able to work faster as well is also something that is a good thing that you should be happy to pay for because you're not in pain for that long. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, artist's cost is it's their right to make up or give the quote that they want to.
100%. I mean, if you think about it, if you go to the doctor, you are paying for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So whether it's 600 or 800 Rand, that's for 15 minutes of their time. It is not because they have, you can walk in there, quickly diagnose, and there you go. It's because it's been years for them to get to that point where they can diagnose you in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
They are not quoting you by the hour, by the day, by all of that.
Yeah.
It's about what their time, the effort, about how they know what to do in a situation.
Yeah.
And if it has to take longer, they do, but they still charge you that 600 or 800 Rand. So the same for me, if we take it back, is when you as an artist need to do something. If you do it in 40 minutes, if you do it in 4 hours, the skill, the effort, the time of your practicing before that is what you are paying for. Not the time there that you're spending there. It's about all of those skills culminating in that moment for you to get that perfect tattoo.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm sure other artists have had similar experiences where clients would try and sort of bargain the price, like I've mentioned before. But then I've realized, like, sometimes they think it's a very simple tattoo, that there's maybe just 2 lines and a circle. And then I think, oh, it's small, but it's difficult. Like a straight line is a difficult thing to pull off. A perfect circle is a difficult thing to pull off. I've recently also had to give a quote for a tattoo that was a bunch of geometric shapes, like squares and rectangles colored in solid. And I think for the client, it seemed very simple. And I mean, if you look at it, it is quite simple, but to tattoo that is a different story. To get that line perfectly straight, to get that shapes perfectly solid and saturated, it's a difficult skill. And I think I've noticed the same thing with blackouts as well. People tend to think that it's an easy thing to pull off.
Oh, wow.
And it's really, I feel like it's one of the most difficult things to do.
Yes, I can imagine that.
Yeah, and the amount of time that takes as well. We've quoted people on, just blacking out a certain area of the arm or whatever, usually part of a cover-up, but and then I can see they are shocked. They don't understand how long it's going to take, and that you quote that much for just coloring something black, but it's one of the most difficult things to do.
Look, from my own experience, from what I've seen, wherever there's like a solid piece that's got like lots of black in it, one, the healing takes, it's very different, okay? So from that healing point, the chances are you maybe need to go back so that there can be a little bit of a touch-up for that. But also, just sitting in that, looking at what the artist does, it takes time. Because it's not just about, okay, now I've got a little line that I'm drawing, or here I'm going. It is perfection at its utmost.
It's very conscious effort that you have to put into that little piece of skin. I know on this one, I think on Photoshop or any editing app, you get this tool where you can just sort of fill that shape.
Yes.
And I think some people think that's the same with tattooing. It's just like, fill that shape.
Can you imagine? Just take the ink and there you go.
But that is not the case. You have to sit there and color in. And I mean, if you look at those needles, they are so fine, even if you use a larger grouping of needles. But still, you have to color the skin with these very fine needles without damaging that skin.
Yes.
So pricing, I think, is also according to what the skill set you have to be able to do that. Color work is different, fine line work is different. So obviously prices are going to differ from each artist as well, and understand that they quote that for a reason. There's a reason why the quote is that. And I think that also relates back to the starting price. I've had a lot of people also sort of they don't understand why, even if they just want a small little heart or a little dot even, or a letter, whatever, And then we quote our starting price. So that's the bare minimum that we are going to quote you, no matter what. Even if you just want a double dot, that's what we're going to charge you. And they don't realize the amount of just the consumable products that we use for one client, for that setup. That is what we have to use for you. Even if the tattoo takes 2 minutes, we still have to pay all that other cost, the needle, just the wrapping and all of that.
There's a lot. There's a lot that goes in. I mean, it's the printing. I mean, okay, fair enough. It's a dot. We go with the fact that you still print it, okay, and you trace it. But it's that consumable. It's about where the person is going to be sitting.
Yeah.
It's about making sure that is clean. So that's another thing that you're using. There's so many different things that's being used that makes up for that price.
Yeah.
And I think that in anything, and I think for people that make things, or that's an entrepreneur that's got something, understand where you are coming from. Because it's not just, you walk in and there's ink and a needle and that's it. There's a lot more that goes to it.
Yeah. And also a small tattoo, I think I've mentioned in one of the previous episodes, is they think a small tattoo is just quick and easy. But sometimes a small tattoo is, for me, more stressful than doing a portrait.
Yes.
And I think I tend to price my tattoos based on how stressful it's going to be for me.
No, but
I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, but if I feel like, yes, this tattoo is going to take a lot out of me and really challenge me, then I'm going to charge a bit more for it. It's definitely more stressful. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, if I think about things that I had to do within my working time, there's certain areas where when I look at it, I'm like, oh no, that's going to be like this. But then there's other areas. Yes, I'm good at it, but the amount of time, stress, effort, extra thinking, extra focus that it's going to take, it takes more out of you. So by the end of the day, you are tired. You can feel it. Mentally, like your body, everything is tired. So I understand why you are saying that you need to charge for that, because it takes more out of you.
And I feel like it's funny. I had a client recently and he's gotten bigger tattoos from me before. And the one was like a painting that I had to copy. And that's like my favorite thing to do. I really enjoy doing that. And then he came for writing on his chest. And I think probably him and I had a discussion before about what type of tattoos I enjoy more, blah, blah, blah. So he sort of knew that the writing things are more stressful for me. And his wife was with him and she said like, oh, she couldn't believe it. She thought like an image would be more difficult. And for me, it's completely the opposite. If I have to do a cat portrait now, I'm not even going to think twice. I'm like, cool, I can do it. But then if you want very fine, small line work or whatever, then that's the stressful part. So obviously it's different for every artist.
Yes.
But I think at the end of the day, pay what your artist is quoting you. If it's a good artist, there's a reason for that price.
Yes, and I mean, I think there's also times when, if your artist, I know I'm like that, like when you quote me something, I'm like, no, like go more, go higher, because I know the amount of work that goes into it, and it's worth it for me. I'm willing to do that because for me, your time is worth that for me.
Thank you. But I think that's where it's difficult for me, because tattooing, I really enjoy it. And I'm so grateful that people are spending their hard-earned money on me, on a skill that I have to do and that I really enjoy. So then I'm like, if it's also a client I enjoy and it's a tattoo I enjoy, it's so difficult for me to like, okay, but give me money for it. Because it's something I really enjoy doing. So it's difficult to quote tattoos. It's like creating art, but then there's this other person involved, there's money involved, so it becomes a bit tricky. But at the end of the day, you need to eat at the end of the day. So.
Well, I mean, I had this discussion with my brother the other day, where we were talking about my skills that I have, and they were like, no, but why don't you start this whole thing where you can provide people with advice for it and all of that. And I said to him, you have to understand, I give you the ideas. How do I charge you for an idea? How do I go about putting that together? And I mean, if you think about what it is that you do as a tattoo artist, yes, the client comes with an idea, but you're putting it together.
Yeah.
So when you are charging for that, it is because you are capable of taking all my 300 different thoughts of what I want and putting it into something that is like just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And that is what you are paying for. And that is why when you say pay the price, I am absolutely 100% behind you on that.
Yeah.
Pay it, because I've got an idea in my head, and then when I see what you've done, I'm like, oh my God, that is so much better. Like, I had this like, and you just got like this amazing thing that's going on there. So there's so much more skill that goes with it. And that, I think that's the crux for me, is like that skill that you've built up over the years of taking something and making it this magical piece. That is what we are paying for. Yes, also for when we come and sit here and taking all the pain that you're lashing out at us. Yes. But I mean, you've learned. I know we've previously spoken about where I'm just like in awe when you start coloring in, and I just don't know how you are seeing what you are doing. But you've learned that.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I mean, if somebody comes and sit with me now and I start tattooing you, the chances of you walking out there going to the hospital because I've literally pierced a vein or something is 100%. You know, I just don't have that skill to be able to do that. But you've learned that.
Yeah.
And that's where that is where it comes into.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people keep in mind the sort of inner turmoil. Well, I don't know if I'm the only artist who's experienced this, but it takes a lot out of you as a person to practice tattooing. It's so stressful. There's this other person involved. There's another body involved. And if you screw it up, you're screwing up that body. And it's bad. So even just to get that skill, for me, it's been such a difficult journey to sort of trust myself and learn that, I'm going to improve. Like every tattoo that you struggle a bit, you learn something from. So, gaining that skill, it's very up and down, and it's very, it's difficult. It's really difficult. Well, and people don't seem to keep that in mind.
I must say, and I'm this is a compliment towards you, I've never experienced that. I've never sat down and felt like you are having inner turmoil, you don't know what's going on. Never. But I have experienced it when I have gone with other people where the tattoo artist, you can just see in their way of talking, how they start doubting themselves and all of that. And then I'm sitting there looking at my friend going like, are you sure about this, because you are seeing that happen.
Sure.
And I'm not saying as a tattoo artist that should stop you, but you need to work on that for yourself.
Yeah,
don't let your client kind of experience that.
Yeah. And I think that's where it's important to get the right artist, because tattoo artists make mistakes.
Yes.
All the time. I make mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. But it's about finding an artist who are able to fix the mistake as soon as possible. Or, I mean, most of the time people don't even realize you're making that mistake. But you can quickly, shade it a bit more or whatever, fix that line, whatever. And then just to find an artist who's not going to be an asshole about it. If you make a mistake, be humble enough to say, like, shit, I fucked up a bit. Please come back for a touch-up, or, what can we do? Tattooing is just difficult.
And that is why those straight lines, those solid blocks, those things are more difficult because you can't shade it away.
Exactly. There's no room to hide any mistakes in a smaller tattoo, or a more accurate, like a straight line or something. There's no room to hide anything. So,
So, well, I think everybody needs to think about, what they want from a tattoo. There's a lot of things that goes into thinking about a tattoo. But, if you have got a specific artist in mind, make sure that you look at what it is that they charge and think about these things that we discussed today. It's not just one thing that goes into it. There's a lot more other elements that they need to consider for them as to why they are charging what they're charging.
I want to make one last point quickly before the end of our session today. I think what I've just learned over the experience is when people ask for quotes, they're not very specific on what they want to get. So, for instance, they'll say they want the tattoo the size of a palm. And then we're like, okay, but whose palm? Everybody's hands are different sizes. So be very accurate and very specific with where you want it, how you want it. All of that stuff influences the quote at the end of the day. And if you're not accurate, I mean, if you say, more or less 10 centimeters, and you get here on the day and it's actually 15 centimeters,
yes,
because they didn't measure out how big 10 centimeters are, then that quote is going to change.
Yeah.
Or they say they want it bigger, and then at the day it's a bit. So then they get a high quote because they said they wanted a bigger tattoo, but then when they get here it's smaller, and then we could have quoted less, you know. So yeah, just be very, very specific on what you want to get when looking for quotes. Then you're going to get more accurate quotes.
Oh, fantastic. But for everybody that has joined us, thank you very much. If you've liked what you've heard, please subscribe to us. Please like this video and also put on the notification so that you know when we have got a new one up and running. And then we will see you again soon. Okay, bye.
Titties and toos.